Shannon and Ned demonstrate how to hold the paw, how to avoid the quick, how to trim the dew claw, and how to keep each cut small and precise.
Now, once you're ready to actually cut toenails, a couple of things, inventory items, if you will, that you'll need to make note of first. Does your dog have dew claws? Some dogs will have dew claws on their front foot, and on the front feet, pardon me, and some dogs will also have dew claws on the rear feet. And with all of their toenails, if you take your dog for walks on sidewalks, etc. a lot, they will grind down those nails a little bit. You still will probably have to, thank you, buddy. You still will probably have to cut your dog's toenails frequently, but that dew claw will never ever make contact with the sidewalk or the pavement. So you will have to make sure that you get to that one frequently. And like I said, if they have rear dew claws as well. Now, Ned does have front dew claws. He doesn't have rear, but the dew claw is basically just like a little thumb. It's not opposable, but a little thumb upwards on the dog's leg there. And that nail, like I said, will never touch the ground. It's always going to be up away from the ground, so it's never going to get ground down at all. So be very, very aware. If your dogs have dew claws, you want to make sure that you cut them and pay attention to them frequently. If they're left unattended, the nail can actually grow so long that it comes and turns and grows right back into the foot. Of course, very dangerous for the dog. So be very aware of those dew claws. Now, I like to use the scissor style of clippers. It's simply a matter of preference, but it's totally up to you which you prefer to cut with. Either way, what you want to be able to do is cut off small amounts of the nail more frequently rather than cutting off a whole bunch of the nail maybe once every month or two. So once a week or so, good boy, you are going to work on just taking on and shaving off little bits of the nail. So what I'm going to do is insert my dog's toenail into the clipper. I'm going to make sure he's nice and calm and still. He's not struggling or panicking in that moment. If all is good, I'm simply going to snip and take off a tiny little bit. The piece that I just took off was maybe about 1 millimeter or so. Then I'm going to move over to the side of the nail and take off another tiny little touch. The inside of the nail, another little touch. And then I'm going to take a slight diagonal amount of nail off of the top of that as well. And that just cuts the nail around the quick and enables the nail to reseal as it grows, and that quick will start to recede a little bit as time goes on. Now, as we mentioned, there is a blood vessel in that nail that will bleed if you cut into it. And that's, of course, something that you want to avoid. If you do happen to cut into that nail, there's all sorts of styptic powders on the market that you can get. There's silver nitrate sticks that'll stop that from bleeding in a hurry. If you're in a pinch and you don't have any of those things on hand, a cold compress will help. If it's winter, you can throw the dog out in the backyard and let them wander around in the snow. It might look a little bit like a massacre out there, but it will help to slow the bleeding. And you also want to, as much as possible, if you happen to cut into that quick, try to keep your dog calm, because of course if the heart is not over pumping, then the blood flow will be slower and it'll help to dry that up. So a couple of tips there to help if you do happen to make a mistake and cut into the quick. Now remember, if you are working with a young dog who's fairly new to nail trimming, you need to be really conscious of how much you are rewarding the process. We want the dog to have an absolute positive association with the whole idea of nail trimming and be totally calm and relaxed about it, and even actually look forward to the interaction. So do make sure that as you're working through, as I mentioned, when Ned was a puppy, the first 2 months he was home, I probably did nail trimming work every single day, and I rarely did more than 1 or 2 nails at a time when I actually did get into trimming nails. What I wanted to do was make sure that my dog understood and was comfortable with the process, but I wanted to keep the pressure as a nice short interval. So I would do some handling work, lots of really high value rewards. I would maybe trim a toenail, and of course remember, when you're trimming those toenails, it's not just one cut. You want to take a little bit off the front, off of each side, and then a little bit off of the top as well on that nail. So you don't want to have your dog, when they're new and young and having a hard time potentially with this situation, you don't want to have them in the situation for so long that they start to get stressed, that they get worse stressed, that they start to completely panic, and it's a downward spiral, of course. So keep it nice and short, get in lots of good rewards. Of course, you can taper off the rewards as your dog grows and as the positive association is made with this exercise, but we want to make sure that it is a wonderful experience for the dogs.
From building trust to practicing your technique, you now have a low-stress plan for successful nail care.